Welcome everyone. So what we're looking at today is creating a dialog cards activity using H5P on WordPress. So it looks simple activity, very useful. You have a card with two sides. The first side can have a picture, audio, text, and you can click on the audio to play. And the second side has the picture and has the definition or the description of what you want the user to remember or learn. And it also has some options for the user to say whether they got it wrong or right, and it keeps track. I got it right, I got it right, I got it right, and it keeps track, and you have to go through several rounds in order to learn all the cards. So I still have learned 0 out of 3. I have to go through it over and over again. These are all options that you can control, and I'll show you how you can do that. But this is a great activity for reviewing or preparation or just learning and drilling language. Let's take a look at how we can create this using H5P. Let's get started. A dialog card activity using H5P on WordPress. So to create a dialog card activity, go down to your H5P on WordPress and click on Add New to add a new activity, and you're looking for dialog cards. If it's not installed, click on Install to install it, and then click on it to start creating this activity. We'll give this a title here. We'll just call it Dialog Cards or Flashcards. And this is the heading of the activity, basically like the title of the activity that the user will see. We'll call it, just call it Good to Remember. And for the mode, you can have it either normal or repetition. So for repetition, the user can look at the cards multiple times and they get extra options saying whether they got the answer or they didn't get the answer. So it is more interactive with repetition. So what we're going to do first is create it as a normal dialogue activity, and then once we're done, we'll look at it and then we'll come back and change it to repetition to see how it changes. Then we have a task description. This is a task for the whole activity, not for a specific card. So just look at the pictures, read the text, listen to the audio, and try to get the definition. So we want the user to look at the pictures, read the text, listen to the audio, and then they're gonna try to remember the definition. This is the first part. And then right under this, we start dealing with the cards themselves, the dialog cards or the flashcards. So right now we have one flashcard, and this is just a hint. It's kind of a pop-up. So we'll call the first one seals. So this is the first hint. It's really not a good hint because we're gonna have a picture of a seal anyways, so it doesn't matter. The second one is hint for the second part of the dialogue. This is the back side of the dialogue. We don't really have a hint. I can just say see. Well, actually, sorry. The second part is the actual answer. Now we get down to the second part. now we get down to the second part, and in this part we're going to start dealing with the cards, the dialog cards or the flashcards, and we have a few things here to add. So first thing is the hint for the first part of the dialog. So we're going to have a picture, and we're also going to have a hint, and the hint here will say or city. So this is going to be on the front end, and on the back end we're going to have the full definition or the full description of what the picture is of, and it's going to say bears, and it's going to have a definition. It's a scientific, this is more of a science class type of flashcard, and it's going to go through the scientific classification of bears. And we're going to add an image to make it easier. This will be an image of a bear. Let's do that. And for alternative text, it's optional, but I'm just going to put bear anyways. And for the audio file, I'm just going to put the audio saying the first word that we put, or city, to help the user remember or figure out how to pronounce this word. And then at the end we got tips, and tip for the text, I don't really have a tip. I can just say think about bears, and tips for the answer, see, bears. These are just extra hints that you can give, and you'll see what they look like on the front end. So right now we have a front side of the card. It has the word Ursity here. We have also on the front we have a picture of a bear, and we have the audio saying this first word. And on the back we have a definition. We still have the picture, and we still have the audio. So basically the only things changing from front to back are the text and the answers and the tips as well. Let's add another card very quickly, and this time we're gonna put something different. Another scientific name for a family of animals. We have the answer on the back. We're gonna add an image. So Pinopedia, and this is seal or seals, or the family of seals. And we're gonna add the audio file to pronounce the first word on the front. So this is a great activity for trying to remember definitions, trying to remember historical events, and it's also good for language as well. You can have one language on the front side with a pronunciation, and then on the back you have the other language to tell you what the front meant. And we're gonna add so no tips for this one. I'm not adding any tips. We'll add a last one, and for this one, this is gonna be more of a historical flashcard. I'm gonna put Lapu Lapu, and the answer is gonna be a description, a brief history of who Lapu Lapu was. We're gonna add an image. So the image is optional, but it's always good to have. Alternative text, we'll just put Lapu Lapu. Audio file, I'm gonna add the voice saying this name. Tips, I won't add any tips. So right now I have 3 cards that I created. 2 about science, 1 about history. So once I'm done with the cards, I'll move down to the behavioral settings. So I want to enable retry. Okay, disable backwards navigation. No, because this is not really, it's not an activity where you're keeping score. So it's just an activity for reviewing or memorizing certain things. So you really want to have, you want to allow the user to go back. Scale the text to fit inside the cards. I haven't tried this to see how it looks like, but I'm not gonna check it this time, but when I come back and edit, I'm gonna change it. And randomize cards, I don't want to randomize them. I have them in this order, I want to see them. But you can randomize the cards if you want. And then you have the usual text overrides for all the prompts and buttons that are in the activity by default. You can override them here, change them. So instead of saying next, you can say next one. Or if you want to use your own language, you can write it here, or you can change the language of the prompts and the buttons from here. I won't do any of that. So I'm happy with what I have now. I have a title, heading, the mode I'll come back to change, and I have a task description telling them what to do with these cards, and then I have the cards as well. So I'll come up to the display option, and I don't want to see any toolbars below my content. I want it to look clean, and I will create my activity here. And we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so we have our first flashcard. So we have here, good to remember, this is the title of the activity. And I have the prompt here, or the instructions. I've got the image. I've got my audio, I've got my front side text, and I've got the tips. So this is the tips that we left. Think about bears. I can click on the audio.
City.
And it says or city, and the user now tries to remember more about this picture or this name or this family of animals. So when you turn the card, you get the description here. So bears, this is what we put on the back of the cards. We get the tips as well, see, bears. But the only thing that's missing is the audio. You don't get the audio again, but you can just turn and listen. And that's basically it. Very simple, but very effective for memorizing or drilling. Very effective. And then next card, you go to next.
Pinopedia.
I got my picture. I didn't have any tips. Turn, and it tells me what this is. Last one, turn, and then last one,
Lapu.
and then I turn, and I've got my answer. It's a hero from the Philippines who fought against the Portuguese and against Magellan and his native allies. So once I get to the end, I get this that says retry. As you can see, there is nothing else here, but I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna try to tweak a few options, some of the options that we looked at. So that's what it looks like by default when you're not changing anything. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change the mode to repetition, and this will add some extra options. Also, I want to go down to this. So when I added the repetition, I got some new options in here. Repetition. So it says I also want to scale the text to fit inside the card. And then we have this option here, says maximum proficiency level. You can go from 3, the minimum, to 7, which is the maximum. So this is basically the difficulty, how many times the user has to get one card correct before he's good to go. So what I will do is I will leave this at 5. So this is the maximum proficiency. Allow quick progression. We said we don't want that. Students have to flip, or users have to flip both cards. We're not touching this. Let's go up and let's see what this looks like now. Let's update. And as you can see, it looks similar, but we have one thing here that is new. It says I got it wrong, and another thing here that says I got it right. That is new. And it also down here says round 1. So what happens now is the user tries to guess what this is, and then they turn the card and then they read the description. If they got it right, they say I got it right. If they got it wrong, they say I got it wrong. So this is based on the honor system. So let's just say I got it right. Second one, I got it right. Third one, I got it right. And I also get a new button here that says next, and it will take me to a summary. And it says this is the round 1 summary. I got 3 cards correct. I got 0 cards incorrect. And all the cards were shown. Overall score, cards I have completed learning, 0 out of 3. So it still doesn't say that I learned the cards, even though I said I know all of them. Why? Because we designated the proficiency at 5. So what I have to do is I have to proceed to round 2. I have to do the cards again. So now I know them all again. Still, I got 0 out of 3, but I've completed 2 rounds. Now if I complete the 3rd round, let's see if it tells me I got them all correct. Got it correct, got it correct, got it correct. Next, I'm still at 0. Let's try the last time here, and let's go. I got it correct, and got it correct. So after 4 rounds, it tells me now I know it 3 out of 3. So even though we designated the proficiency, maximum proficiency to 5, it is more of a formula because it takes into account if you get any cards wrong. So if you get 1 card wrong, you might have to do more and more rounds. So if you put it at 5 and the user gets the answer all correct 4 times in a row, then they get 3 out of 3, or they get a full mark. If they miss a few cards, then they have to do more and more rounds until they complete all of them. And once they complete all of them, they get to retry. But right now this is finished. So to get this onto your website, what you need to do is you need to take the short code, copy it, and you want to put it in a post or on a page, but I'm going to put it in the post here. I'm going to say add new post to get it into that post. You want to add a title, call this 21 Dialog Cards, and you want to add a new block that is a short code block, and you want to paste your short code in there, and that's basically it. You publish your post, you view your post, and you see your activity. So really nice activity. I've got the title here, I've got the description, it's got a nice box shadow around it, makes it look cool. Audio works, turns, I got it correct, got it correct, I got it wrong. So one thing is, if you do get one of them wrong, so I got 2 out of 3 wrong, I'm gonna move to the next round. This next round only has 2 cards, so it is dynamic. The number of cards change depending on how many you got, and it says cards in pool not shown 1, so it showed me 2 out of 3, so one of the cards was not shown. So if you have a lot of cards, then this makes more sense. And so this activity is really good for reviewing, for preparing for exams, or for preparation for presentations as well. It's very useful. I know a lot of people use this in their school days, where they had maybe physical cards with the a word and a definition on the back, and that's how they studied. This is just a interactive online version of it. This is a standalone activity. If you want to include it as part of a interactive workbook, it works well. So you can have this activity before a quiz or a test in an interactive workbook. That way a user gets to review first, then they go into the quiz or test. So it works really well. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave them down below. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.